Yo, what up? What up? Thumbs up in the chat. Shout out to the people in the room already, man. Mike D checking in here. Got a new little look going on here on A2HH Live. Shout out to the people who are in the room. Thumbs up in the chat. You already know how it goes, man. We're back in the building. Back in the building for the people who don't remember or whatnot. Shout out to you guys, man. Appreciate the love all the years and you know everything that you've been doing. How's everything out here in these YouTube streets and these live stream streets? Cheers to you guys. Yes. So we're gonna give people a second to actually get in the room. I am here, man. Went solo on that ass, but it's still the same. A2HH Live, we are here today. Go through a couple of topics, man, or a few topics. Yo, what up, Super? We got Super in the building. I think I might start taking phone calls and everything too, man. But I think that's something that maybe we can build to next episode or whatever. It's wide open right now. But yeah, I want to know from you guys too before I get started. It's been a very interesting year in hip hop. I feel like I don't know, since we stopped doing the lives, man, I feel like the music, I mean, we got some quality albums like out there, but I feel like the music's kind of slowing down. People are doing more so singles now than full projects and full albums. Jay literally needs no. Yeah, I mean, yeah. We'll get to Jay in a second, man. But I think that the whole concept of albums and everything has changed as well. Like to me, the best hip hop album I've heard all year. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still going with Deontay Hitchcock, Junkie in the Sun. And I'm not just saying that because I interviewed the brother, but when I heard the album, I was like, yo, I gotta go find this guy because I felt like his album had all of the necessary peaks and valleys, subject matter, and it took you to all those different places. But I don't know if hip hop calls for that anymore, and that's an unfortunate thing when you feel like, the full album is not being appreciated like it needs to. And so, even when we talk about Jay and him doing a new album in this space, what does that look like for a veteran like himself and somebody who, sonically, Super said IDK. Actually, you know what? IDK's album's pretty dope too. And Super sent me that album. What was that? In January? January? It has very Kanye-esque feels. And speaking of Kanye, Bully was pretty dope too. Um, I think J. Cole dropped a dope album with the Fall Off. But I mean, what do you guys think of the Fall Off? Is it still a top 5 album this year? Do you guys even have a top 5 album this year? We're still doing super chats too. We'll put the super chats on the screen and all that for the people who want to, chime in the conversation. But yeah, it made me think like, okay, well, is it because more so the hip hop media space is more focused on, you know, topics, news and things of that nature as opposed to the music? Or is it the fact that, people are just slowing down with the music altogether? Now I will say 38 Spesh, tripping. 38 Spesh, he's not slowing down with the music. He gives you consistent music. Um, and people in that camp, they are giving you that consistent music. People think the fall off was mid. I think the fall off, in my personal opinion, and I know we didn't get a chance to really, really rate this thing, but I did speak to it. I feel like the fall off just, and I said this in my quote unquote review, it was just way too many songs. And in this streaming era, I think we're in a difficult place where people are giving you way too many songs because they're trying to hit those streaming numbers and those streaming quotas. But in a low attention span era, a whole bunch of songs is just gonna come off as mid, even if a bunch of those songs are good. I think you still have to cut and you still have to, you know, give people the best of the best. But I don't know how that works when it comes to streaming. Now, that leads us to Jay Z. What does the new Jay-Z album look like? And does hip hop need that in 2026? And when I say that, first of all, let me address the elephant in the room. I got a lot of people out there who call me a Jay-Z hater. I am not a Jay-Z hater. I love Jay. I think Jay is one of the all-time greats. I think really, if we're being honest, being objective, I got Jay at number two. Some could have him lower or whatnot, but I think his longevity and what he's been able to do in the game and his skill set and how influential he is. I mean, I got him in number two, only to Nas because Nas went out there and we don't even have to go in that. But even with that being said, though, anytime that anyone critiques Jay on any level, then you're labeled a Jay hater. I mean, we've even gotten to the point now where we're having a ridiculous argument, and this is coming from me. People are saying that Jay had the best verse on, or he didn't get killed by Eminem on Renegade. Like, we're not gonna rewrite history. We know what happened on Renegade, and that's cool. It is what it is. Everybody's not gonna. One of the craziest takes I think I've seen, and I'm gonna finish that thought. The craziest take that I saw was somebody, and I forgot who it was on whatever podcast, but they said Jay never got killed on a record, and it's like, come on, man, like, what kind of fan do you have to be to say that a rapper never got out rapped on a record before? Like, everybody has been out rapped on a record before. I mean, especially if you went out there and rhymed as many times as Jay has. I mean, on This Can't Be Life, Scarface has the best verse. To me, on Somehow, Some Way, Beans has the best verse. Um, I think on Guess Who's Back, I'm giving that from Jay. That's why I love that trio because on all of their songs, all three of their songs, each one of them had the best verse on each of those three songs, in my opinion. But it's we've gotten to that point in fandom where you're sitting here saying that Jay has never been out rapped on a record. Like, what are you talking about? How many records have you heard from him? And honestly, 3000 to me is one of those guys that you could say a lot of that for because of his approach and the way that he takes on records a lot of the times. But he's still been out rapped on a record before. That's happened. Um, Hold on one second. We got a super chat. Shout out to Maul in the building, man. Good to see you guys again, man. We back in here, man. He says, saying Jay never got killed on a song is straight standing. It is. It's like, look, and we don't even need to add the superlative of, of the verb or whatever, however you want to put it, as killed, blah, 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 whatever. You know what I mean? But to make it seem like any rapper in the world has never been out rapped on a song before, I mean, shit, I'm going to keep it real. I think Nas got out rapped on Black Republican by Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? But it happens. And if we're being real, man, y'all heard Watch the Throne? I mean, I think Kanye bested him on a lot of those records, but we ain't gonna go there. But anyway, my 3000 point. 3000 is one of those guys where, just his approach and, he's rapping with high level guys all the time. But even there are songs where he's been out rap, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Biggie got him on Young G's. Who do y'all think got who on Brooklyn's Finest? Look, I see what Leroy's saying in there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look, and that's why I want to address the kill thing. I think any MC at a certain level has never, quote unquote, been killed on a record before. Has Prodigy been killed on a record before? Like, you know what I'm saying? Has it been a point where you're like, yo, Prodigy's just not in the same league as this guy? Nah, that doesn't happen. Jadakiss doesn't get, quote unquote, killed on a record, even though, 38 Special, got him on Sunday School. That happens. But to sit here and act like somebody ain't never been out rapped on a record. Andre got out rapped on Get Up, Get Out. That happened. You know what I'm saying? I think skewing on the Barbie. I don't know. Yeah, shout out to y'all. Y'all say y'all in the building. We here. We here. But you know what? Let me put this poll in here. I want to put a poll in the chat for you guys to see what people are saying as far as like. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Let's get a poll in the chat to see if people really think that Jay should drop an album in 2026, and then you know, we'll we'll reconvene with it at the end of the show. Let's see. Does hip hop need? Let's see. Yep. Oh, all right. Let's see what the chat. But yeah, this is the thing, man. Like we got a lot of veteran MCs out here who are putting in dope work, making dope albums. They might not be albums that take over the media landscape or whatnot. And I'm gonna get to Rakim in a minute. Um, After we get through a whole bunch of other topics, but what Mass Appeal did was Mass Appeal made a space for the seasoned hip hop listener, if you will, and the seasoned hip hop artist. So they could go out there and make new music and have a platform to do it on. Shout out to LL as well, what he did with Q-Tip, dope album. I think where Jay is right now, Jay's never had to mingle in those veteran circles, if you will, and be treated like an elder. He's more so a current MC, but he is an older MC, but his whole positioning is always current. And so if he were to drop an album, it would have to be more so on a current trajectory, if that makes any sense, right? He's not gonna go out there and do what, the people who made these Mass Appeal albums did. He's gonna go out there and work with some of the more current people. Um, he's not gonna do what Slick Rick did or whatever. I think I think that he's missing something by not doing that. I think when you try to be current to that degree, you just you're never gonna be that current for that audience. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you'll appear to be the older guy in the room, whereas if you were to go out there and make something with your veteran peers, it would be different. So the first thing that we need to ask when we're talking about a new Jay-Z album, or if that's real, who's producing this? And who would you get excited about producing a Jay-Z album in 2026? And I think that's a very interesting question. Like, let's look at it in a vacuum, right? Um, Ti, yeah. Well, Ti's a veteran MC too. He just dropped an album. I thought his album was dope, but I think that he did a couple of things to be current. He's very versatile, very agile, if you will, with his style and all those things. But he didn't he missed the mark in some ways, but only because he tried to give everybody everything they wanted. Now, I think with Jay, we're not looking for something that is the future of music. We can't That's asking way too much from a veteran MC. I think to some degree it's gonna have to be a nostalgic type feel. I would love to see Jay and Just Blaze come together. To me, I think Just Blaze is Jay-Z's best producer. Now that's a question too. Who is Jay's best producer? I mean, many would say Kanye. I can agree with that, but I think that Jay's stronger records, no disrespect to the Ye records, I think that Just Blaze plays into what Jay does best, and that's that conversational flow that Jay has, and I think that that is, yeah, I think I'm gonna give that one to Just Blaze, to be perfectly honest with you, between the two. Um, but I don't know what Just Blaze production sounds like in 2026. Do you guys? I mean, last time I heard Just was shit. Last time I heard Just was on that Rick Ross album a few years back, and I know a lot of people were saying that that sounded very nostalgic as well. Yeah, Just Blaze definitely Lace J. And but do you want to hear Just Blaze and Jay Z in 2026? I think that I don't think we want Dr. Dre. We already got We already got No ID. That already happened. I think The Alchemist would be incredibly dope. Alchemist and Erica Badu got an album coming out too. But I think The Alchemist would be incredibly dope if Alchemist and Jay made an album. But again, is that gonna move units? Because that's the other part when it comes to Jay, right? It's like you gotta have a sound that, you know what I'm saying, people are gonna connect with, and it's gotta do units. Um that's how that whole Ray Daniels situation popped off because Ray Daniels claims that he doesn't think that Jay can do his numbers without teaming up with, a company to release an album. I don't know. Um, Look, it's a different game. It's a different world out here. I think the last time Jay released the album in the traditional sense, and I mean like with a single video and all that stuff, because he did a video for 444, but that was more so cartoons and things like that. I think Magna Carta is the last time that we saw it in a traditional rollout type of way where radio still mattered with Justin Timberlake's single and he had Picasso and Fuck With Me, I Got It with Ross. That was how long ago was that, guys? Magna Carta was Magna Carta was like 13, I think. 13, 14. So yeah, we talking about a good while ago. So I don't even know what a rollout looks like or, how Jay would approach an album. But I do think that people would love to hear from him. I know I would love to hear from him. I don't think it's going to be an album that, you're going to add to the catalog and add to, the overall repertoire, but it I'm just going to keep it short. Now I don't I think hip hop needs it. Jay doesn't need it. It could put a it could put a boost in hip hop in 2026. It could do that. It's Jay. Of course it could. But I think there's a lot of pressure, and I think that the pressure of putting out an album that goes up against the rest of your catalog, it doesn't make the most sense. So, if you ask me, I don't think we're getting a Jay-Z album. Um Yeah, I don't think we're getting a Jay-Z album in 2026. People in the chat, and I know this is a whole different question, but yeah, you guys are saying that hip hop does need it. Well, I guess hip hop might need it, but who do you guys think would produce the album? And what do you think the collaborations would look like? I hear some people saying Kendrick Lamar possibly. A Kendrick Lamar and Jay record at this point would be dope. But really, if we're being honest, I think at this point, when it comes to the veteran MCs, I like the whole idea of guys collaborating, getting collaborations that we never were able to get before. I mean, I thought it was dope that Nas and Premier made an album, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it. Somebody said something about Jay doesn't have a good ear for beats anymore. I will say this, and I know this might be controversial. I think Pharrell could be the choice, but I think this might be controversial. But when it comes to Jay, his flow hasn't been right at least in a good 10 years. His flow's been all over the place. And I think that even when it comes to the freestyles, we're getting a lot of spoken word type of flow and things like that. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. We're getting like the spoken word type of flow. And even when it comes on beats, it's kind of like, all over the place. And I know even in the interview that he did with GQ, he checked old boy for, the email where he said that Jay sounded off beat on one of those Jay Electronica records. And he was like, I was really on beat, but it sounded off beat or whatever, whatever. I think Hit Boy could definitely give Jay-Z a dope album. But I don't feel like Jay would do that because that would look like he's following Nas to some extent. And I don't think he would do that. You know, I gotta say it, man. Like even when we're talking about the possibility of Jay dropping in 2026, even if we're talking about that and how difficult that is, we gotta give credit where credit's due for what Nas and Hit Boy were able to accomplish over the past 6 years, man. It's not an easy feat from either one of them. and we gotta give credit where credit's due. It's a beautiful thing, man. But I do think that Jay with his talents, man, he definitely has more to give the game, and he's on stage rhyming. He's he's paying homage to his older records, his classic records. I mean, let's look at the catalog, man. Like Reasonable Doubt, I think that's a classic, right? Volume One, you guys think Volume One's a classic? I think time has been very kind to Volume One. To me, when it comes to Volume One, the reason why I wouldn't say it's a classic, it has great moments, super highs, but the lows on there are so low. It's hard for me to call it a straight up classic because then I would have to match it up with other classics. And to me, I don't think Volume One matches up with other hip hop classic albums, song for song. The high moments do. It has classic moments for sure. Volume Two is difficult. Off top, I say Volume Two is a classic. And Volume Two is classic in a different way because the records are just too big to ignore. Those records are big for him. Those records were game changing at the moment. And but if we went song for song, Volume Two is kind of a tough sell as a classic, but the moments are just too big. That's when Jay Z became Jay Z. So I'm gonna have to give Volume Two classic status. Volume Three, no. The Dynasty, nah. The Blueprint, yes. That's three. Mm. The Blueprint, yes. The Blueprint Two, no. The Black Album, yes. Yeah. Ooh, his flow's off because he's not around rappers anymore. Mm, that's interesting. We'll get back to that point. So that's four. I got four with the Black Album. Now everything after that, it's kind of hit or miss. Kingdom Come, no. American Gangster, huh? I think American Gangster is, hmm. I think it's one of those end to end plays. But if you try to match American Gangster up with other hip hop classics, I don't know if it has the memorable records to match up with it. Like American Gangster's '07. I like American Gangster more than I like Graduation, believe it or not. But Graduation got the memorable moments. I think The Rock Boys is incredible record. You know what? Look, based on the longevity, based on the approach and the creativity and the production and everything that Jay did on there, I'm gonna give American Gangster a classic. The only song I didn't like on American Gangster was Hello Brooklyn. And honestly, Hello Brooklyn is not a bad song. It's just not as good as the other records on there. So yeah. So far I got Reasonable Doubt Volume 2, The Blueprint, The Black Album, and American Gangster. Five classic albums. It's pretty tough right there. And then you get the Blueprint 3, no. Magna Carta, no. 444, no. Did I skip anything? And I gotta when I start taking calls, man, I have to ask you guys, like, what is everybody's what is everybody's big thing with 444? Wait a minute, man. Leroy, are you in the room? I want Leroy to call in. I want Leroy to call in real quick. I'm gonna see if I can get Leroy on the phone. I want Leroy to tell me, I want Leroy to tell me why 444 is a classic, if he thinks it's a classic. Let me call Leroy real quick. Actually, Leroy, you got my number, man. Hold on. Uh, I'm about to get Leroy on the line because we got to have this 444 debate. Let me see. I'm looking for Leroy's number on my phone right now. There we go. Got you, Leroy. Let's see what we got. Not able to do it. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Sure my stuff is connected like it needs to. I guess it didn't work like that. Huh. Well, I guess it didn't work like that. Hold on one second. I thought I was able to connect my phone in that way. Oh well. Well, Leroy, you're gonna have to I'm gonna send Leroy a link. Let me do it like that. Nah, Leroy, he calling me right now. Leroy, no. Let me send you a link real quick. Let me do this. Send Leroy a link, see if he jump in real quick. And out because I need to know why people feel so high on, you know what I'm saying, on 444. Bear with me one second. Kind of rusty at this, man. I'm gonna send you a link, Leroy. Hit that link and then see if I can get you into the show. It's probably gonna be the easiest way to do it. But yeah, because we gotta know. I've heard people say 444 is a classic. I've been wanting to debate wanted to debate my man was it Charles whatnot, man. Like he's been saying that 444 is a classic, and I'm like, how? I need to know. I need to know why people have 444 so high. And I think that when it comes to, talking about Jay and 444 specifically, I think Leroy is the best person to ask, actually. So whenever Leroy chimes in, we're gonna figure this out. But yeah, so I got 5 classics. And I don't know if you guys think Watch the Throne's a classic. I think Watch the Throne's a dope album, but I don't know if it's a classic. I want to see how many classics Leroy got because just for the people out there to say I'm biased, and I'm a Jay hater, I got 5 classics. I can't be biased against an artist that I think has 5 classic albums. I don't think there's anybody else other than Nas that I would say has 5 classic albums. Even Outkast, like Outkast got Southern Playalistic, AT Aliens is a classic, I think. Um, and Aquemini's a classic. Some could say Stankonia is a classic too. But if people don't think Stankonia is a classic, then um, I'm not gonna argue against that. Speaker Box Love Below, nah. I saw somebody ranking Outkast's albums and and they botched it all up. Look, for me, Aquemini number 1, easy. That's an easy number 1 for me. I think Southern Playalistic is Cass's second best album, and I think AT Aliens is third. Then it's Stank. Ooh, because I'm gonna separate Speaker Box and Love Below, right? I think I think the Love Below is better than Stankonia, to be honest. That's hard to say, but I think it is. So I'm gonna go Love Below, then I'm gonna go Stankonia, and then I'm gonna go Speaker Box, and then Idlewild. I think Idlewild's last. But somebody was trying to make the argument that Stankonia was whack. Now I will say this about Stankonia: it's the first time I ever skipped any song on an Outkast album. Now I'm a super fan too, but I could see somebody skipping Decatur's song on ATLians. Um, Looking back on it, I think on Southern Playalistic, I think Deep is skippable. Um, Aquemini no skips, but Stankonia I was skipping all around, man. And yes, Stankonia has a lot of fillers, and Cass never really gave us fillers before then, and so that was new at the time. It was like I wasn't used to skipping Cass records, because even records like Deep and Decatur Song, I still listen to. And Decatur Song is not a bad song. It just, it doesn't really fit where everything else is going on ATLians. Um, yo, good to see you too, Michael Brown. But yeah, man, um, Ottawa is bad though. I don't know about that whole notion that Stankonia is whack. I can't say that because the thing about Stankonia, and again, this is me as a listener loving artists that actually take chance. I understand what they were doing. In my personal opinion, even with some of the weaker songs like Call Before I Come, and I didn't like Toilet Tissue like that. But for me, that time period with those Stankonia drums, those drums that they were using, or Mr. DJ or whoever was using on Stankonia, crazy. Crazy. Unmatched to this day. I have 3 drum kicks that I love the most in hip hop. It's that the Neptune drums, the DJ Paul and Juicy J drums, and the Stankonia drums. For sure. But yeah, I mean, but even with Tribe, man, I don't think Tribe has 5 classics, and I love Tribe. I think the first 3 are classic. You know what? Wait a minute. Speaking of the first 3, while I'm waiting on Leroy to jump in and defend 444, I got a bone to pick with some of y'all, man. When we were talking about the biggest leap from a debut album to a sophomore album, I saw people saying People's Instinctive from A Tribe Called Quest to the Low End Theory. Like, People's Instinctive is classic, straight up. And in my personal opinion, and I've said this on this channel before, it's my favorite Tribe album. It's not the best. It's definitely their third best, but it's something about People's Instinctive that is fresh, new, it's young energy. It is, it is, it's something that it's hip hop, man. Like it sounds like some young kids having fun, man. And Q-Tip did his thing on there. And to me, when you look at I don't even want to call it a jump. The transition from People's Instinctive to the Low End Theory. People's Instinctive, I love it so much because it actually stands out from the rest of their catalog. Because the rest of their catalog sounds like a Tribe Called Quest. Like they hadn't found their sound yet. And even before finding their sound, they made an incredible album. And that's why I didn't even really that's why I really didn't even consider Public Enemy either in that conversation because yes, I know It Takes a Nation is a top 5 hip hop album all time. But Yo Bum Rush the Show is dope too. But it's just they hadn't totally found their sound yet. And the game was changing at that time. So I didn't even consider that. When I consider leaps, I think of a debut album that is forgettable and it's nowhere near classic and doesn't even have classic moments. But that next album is a whole different group. And the infamous is that, the score is that. I will also say Resurrection from Common is that. Like, I know some people out there saying they like Can I Borrow a Dollar, man. Can I Borrow a Dollar is not, it ain't it, man. It got moments, but he's not the rapper that he became. Same thing with T.I., man. Like, I know people who love I'm Serious, but he's not the rapper that he became until trap music. I mean, it is what it is. And so for me, those are the leaps. Now, there was talent when it came to T.I. Of course, there was talent. But I'm Serious T.I. doesn't become what he became. I mean, that's just not it's not it. And that was a big jump. What was the other big jump? We got the score, we got Common, we got the infamous. Honestly, man, and I know some of y'all was like, whatever, whatever, but to me, man, that 500 degrees to the Carter 1 jump was crazy. Because I think there's a lot of people that look at Wayne for who he is now and who he became, or at least in that era. But I'm from a time where Wayne was a member of the Hot Boys, and Wayne wasn't even the guy in the Hot Boys. Like, it was a debate between Wayne and Turk at that time, at least here, at least in Atlanta, in school, whatever. It was always Juvenile and BG for the top guy spot. And at the time, Juvenile was the guy. I mean, Juvenile made 400 degrees. And then here came BG with Chopper City in the Ghetto. And then it's like, Wayne or Turk. No one, and I mean no one, expected Wayne to transition from 500 degrees to the Carter. I do remember. Ooh, I'm gonna answer this, and usually y'all get some super chats going on, so y'all can be a part of the conversation too. Um, I'm gonna answer that question though because I think that's a good one in the chat. Um, I was talking about the Carter. No one expected 500 degrees to go to the Carter like that. No one expected that. There wasn't even a warning for that. Honestly, I remember that song "Holla Back" or whatever. Oh, yeah, niggas, if you with me, where you at? Oh, and then Wayne was kind of like running through the woods or something. I remember him flowing on there, and I was like, "Yo, Wayne's flowing," but that was about it. But when we heard the Carter, it was like, "Whoa!" I'm sorry, like to me, the Carter from 500 degrees to the Carter. I ain't saying that Wayne had help or whatever, allegedly. But that shit was like Sammy Sosa going from 5 home runs to 40. It just was. It was like, yo, where did this come from? With T.I., man, you heard it. Like you heard the potential and you heard the mixtapes and all those things where it was like he was constantly elevating and he was getting himself to a certain place. But Wayne, Wayne might have made the biggest jump without warning. I mean, that was a super leap. And it was, yeah, Wayne, the hype for Wayne was huge. It was huge. But again, the leap was huge too because he wasn't even in any conversations, if we're going to be honest. He went from being in no conversations to being in a conversation. Now, somebody in here asked my thoughts on it was written in relation to Illmatic. I was watching this Steve Stout interview lately. Who interviewed Steve Stout? I'll look it up in a second. But Steve Stout gave a lot of game in that interview, and I have a lot of questions for Steve Stout. I want to interview Steve Stout. I think that'd be really dope. But Steve Stout started managing Nas after Illmatic, and it was written had a lot to do with Steve's direction. And to me, I'm always gonna go Illmatic because Illmatic just has better songs. But if you want to talk about, being able to adjust to what 1996 looked and sounded like, Nas did an incredible job of adapting because he wouldn't have been able to make Illmatic in 1996. Radio was too important at that time. Um, and for him, if you're not going to work with Puffy, I think that Steve Stout was the perfect person for him at that time. And they also balanced out, the radio records with the shootouts and the message. And you didn't have to switch producers too much for that either. Steve says something in his interview that I thought was really dope because I felt like this too. He was talking about the transition of, you know, music when it went from, the physical to the digital era or whatever. And he was talking about the late 90s and the early 2000s specifically. Shout out to Maul with the super chat. Says, ask Steve Stout. Why he leaked I Am. That was actually on my list of what to ask Steve Stout for real. So yeah, let's get the Steve Stout interview popping. Um, hold on one second, man. I don't know how this is gonna room. Hold on one second, Leroy. Let me finish this thought. But anyway, what was I talking about? Steve. All right. So yeah, Steve Stout was talking about the late 90s, early 2000s when the quality of hip hop albums kind of fell off. He said labels would go out there and have a producer do the whole album or producers do the whole album, and they would bring in a super producer to do the hit record or the single, and the single would sound nothing like the album, and it made for a bad album. And I'm like, you know what, he's right. I think hip hop really went down the wrong pathway when everybody start having the same hit making radio producers on every single album. I think the early 90s and the mid 90s sound so good, and they look and the music is so good because or the albums are so classic because they had one producer or one or two producers. Let me see. Let me get Leroy in this green room because I'm starting to get kind of choppy, and I don't know if it's because he's here. Let's see. Get him to the right real quick.
What we doing in these YouTube streets?
Hold on
My
one
guy,
second,
can you hear me?
man. Yes, I hear you. Do the people out there
What we,
hear you?
what we
Let
doing
me
in these YouTube streets?
let's
The
get this out
people,
of
what's
your
good
face.
with you?
What's good? What's good, man? Hold on. Let's there we go. Let's do that real quick before I put the whole
Yeah,
thing back on. All right.
I'm
So
seeing if I'm a little choppy on my end. Hold on, let me just see if I'm choppy because I don't know.
no, no,
But
no, no. I think it's the fact that I'm pulling you in. So I mean, we'll be quick with it.
okay,
Was. But
salute, salute. I
how
got the
about
Rock
all right?
Nation hat on. What we doing?
Of course, he has the Rock Nation hat on. Of course. All right. Let's go
Yes,
down the catalog because I already counted out 5 classics for me, and then I'll ask you
I'm gonna
the
say
the
five though at the
showrunner
end of the
question.
day.
Huh?
Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna say five too at the end of the day.
Oh, you're gonna say five. What five you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna say reasonable doubt.
Okay.
I'm gonna say volume one, um, blueprint, black album, American Gangster. Is that five right there? So before 444, because that's what you asked me about. And granted, I was down the street. I had to come home. You asked me about 444, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying, y'all, and I just want to make this overall point for all the artists, right? I'm not the genius on this. I'm just giving you my opinion, right? So don't take what I'm saying as the law. I'm just giving you my opinion. Shout out to everybody in the chat. But we're all good at something, right? So Jay is good at rapping. I'm good at rapping. Mike D is good at rapping. Oh,
I used to be.
everybody in the audience, Mike, you good at rapping, man. I don't know what you playing for, but okay. So now, we're all good at something, right? But this is art, right? So when you look at a painting, do you automatically like every painting? Probably not. You probably say it was cool. Then you go do some research and you find out what you like about it, right? I say all that to say this. I think people are looking at, well, Jay needs to do this, Jay needs to do that. And I understand all of that because we want to see a superstar. We want to see somebody come out and be a superstar. But, you know, you don't have to make an album that everybody likes right away. I say all that to say, right, when 444 came out, I said I don't like this. I said I don't like this, right?
What did you
Then I
not like
got into a
about it?
relationship. Huh?
What did you not like about it?
I didn't like how he sounded like he was not doing well. You know what I mean? He sounded like stuff. My life is doing bad. So that's when I was like, I don't really like that. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm exaggerating the point maybe or like broad brushing the point. But the overall is the emotion in it felt like he wasn't doing too well, right? So I wasn't really into that energy. You know what I'm saying?
I get
So I didn't like it at first, right? So at this time, I'm supposed to get married myself. So I have my own things going on with my fiance. She is, she's shopping for wedding dresses. She's telling all her friends, "Oh, I'm about to get married." All of this is going on, right?
Mhm,
So I start to relate to what Jay is saying. You said it because I'm
mhm,
in a similar situation. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that's all, man. And it's like, I had the same conversation with somebody else, dude from Bagfield too. But
mhm,
it's like, bro, like if you're someone that's leading the culture, whether you think Jay is leading the culture or not you, Mike, but the people in the audience, you're going to be ahead of the game, right? So not everybody is going to feel that, right? It's like Jay, his first album, he's rapping about spending Japanese yen at 10 major events. What are you
mhm.
talking about? We've never seen Japanese yen. We don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
We
alright, to
don't know
that to
what
that point to that point,
you know what I'm saying?
what does a 2026 album look like, and do we need it?
Right. Okay. Now, for me, when people say we need a Jay-Z album, need a Jay-Z album for what? And my thing is, if you didn't need it, then why is his name always coming up? I think his name is coming up because people want it or feel they need it. So if they need it, he is in a space now where he's 50 something years old. He is a cultural leader. He's a billionaire, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So he should speak to that. And now, granted, when you speak to that, a lot of people are not going to feel that because how can they? How can you feel what a billionaire is saying? How? It's not possible. So
Well,
that's what I'm
I
saying. Like,
mean, you said 444 was relatable, so that wasn't
I
really
had to
about
grow
that.
into it.
Yeah.
Right. I had to, but Jay is in a position where it's just not possible for you to understand his life because how have you
Is
ever
that
been
hip
there?
hop?
Yeah.
Is
Huh?
that hip
No,
hop?
but I think in Jay's case, I think Jay is 100% hip hop. Yeah, I think
But I'm saying if
he,
you're not able to
yeah.
be relatable to the hip hop audience, is that hip
Right.
hop?
And but in my humble opinion, and y'all know I'm hip hop. Like I'm down to rap at any time. I'm outside with other rappers. I'm living this. Hip hop, I think, still has room to grow. That's all. We still have room to grow. We be acting like we have reached the pinnacle level. We've done everything. We've seen everything. We know everything. I believe hip hop still has room to grow. And with that being the case, Jay should come out and tell you, well, this is where I'm at. So in case somebody else gets up here, there's a blueprint here for that. And I think that everybody thinking that, well, I have to like your album. Why do you have to like it? You did not like it.
Well,
That's okay.
that's what we've been traditionally taught, you know?
And why does he have to do numbers? You don't. Nobody has to buy Jay's record. We can all ignore Jay.
So you
Just
think you
ignore
can
him.
go out there and not do numbers and that not be a conversation?
I'm saying that people feel like they want to clown Jay, so clown him. It's okay
I
if
think
he
he has
don't do
those
numbers.
pressures as, with the consecutive number ones and all that. I think that, the expectation is to do numbers. Leroy, I
That's
hate to
the
say
angle I don't appreciate from Ray Daniels. I don't appreciate that from Ray Daniels because it sounds like you sending a shot. Oh, Jay needs a business partner because nobody messes with Jay. That's how I'm hearing what you're saying.
I'm about to move
Nobody
on to
messes with Jay.
the Rhapsody topic. So give your closing
We can't.
thoughts. Stay aware. I might get you back in. I just don't want the whole thing to be choppy. You know what I mean?
Okay, I got you. I got you. Good to see you though, man. Keep
Yeah.
doing your
No,
thing.
give your
But
closing thoughts though. What's your final word?
my final word is this, man. This is art. This is art, y'all. So it's like if you hear an album, you may not agree with the album right away. Because in art, it's like you looking at a painting, you may not like the painting right away. Then later, you may start to like it. So this is art in the same regard. Like if Dre drops an album and you don't like it, you don't really understand what's saying, what's going on, that's okay. Cause you may get it and like it later on. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's my final point, man.
I
Yeah, I
appreciate you,
mean,
Leroy. Hi.
yeah, yes, sir. You already know.
Yes, sir. Let's see if this fixes it. Yeah, I think we'll figure out another way to get those calls in and make that right. But yes, Rhapsody speaking out on the culture and culture vultures, if you will. And a lot of people, well, you know what? I don't even want to say a lot of people. The conversation was brought up about Vlad and No Jumper. But let me let her speak on it. Here we go.
Does it feel like on a mainstream business level we've given the culture away?
Sold it out, or
So yeah, definitely
yeah.
sold it out or watered it down. And the culture is beautiful, like it's strong. Like if you know what the culture really is outside in the street and everyday life in small, um cities, countries, towns, all around the world, groups of people. But on a mainstream level, like what we project to the world of what hip hop is, like it could be, very small, um of what women how women are represented, even how our men are represented. This idea of what hip hop is flashy, it's gangsta, it's like, no, it's a beautiful art form.
Mm.
um and I think we haven't protected it enough in that way. Even in media, we aren't protecting it enough. Like even some places we go to sit down to tell our stories,
Mm.
we
So
giving it to the wrong people, I think.
the next bar you said it was hit the gate on the culture and turn the key. Um, No Jumper and Vlad, the whole industry.
Industry. Again, like why do we go sit down with certain people and give so much of a story away that I don't think is necessarily protected? And like I'm just trying to see the angle. Um, I just love this culture too much, and there are people that really love it and care about it, and we won't go sit down and have these long conversations with them, right?
Mhm.
We'll talk about things that we don't like versus the people that we do like. It's like, how are we being intentional with our art form and our story and our truth and who we give it to? Like journalism matters, who holds our truth matters and how it's presented to the world. Like I just think we should care more about it.
I think that is very well said. Shout out to Rhapsody. And hopefully, we see more artists who are making dope music, quality music, speaking to the people in the media who actually care about that, right? A lot of the things in media, especially hip hop media, is is aggregated by clicks, excuse me, and people just trying to get traffic and saying the wildest thing they could say to actually just get traffic. It's never, I don't want to say never, but a lot of the times it's not about the music. It's no real incentive to get the music, the good music, in the faces of the masses. I and I'm gonna bring up Deontay Hitchcock again because I feel like he has one of the strongest, the best hip hop album I've heard all year. And I asked him straight up, like, what incentive does a young artist have for making a great album? And he was recently on the Breakfast Club. Shout out to him for that. Talking about his record that addresses mental health, and he went on there and didn't do any shock jock thing or shock value things. It was just a dope interview. And I respect that because unfortunately, what the algorithm and social media and many of the media pages out there, according to hip hop included sometimes, has shown artists is the only way that you're going to get massive attention is to go out there and do something crazy or do something that's going to go viral. You got scam artists out here who are crying about kids not being able to read just to go viral. You know, people will do anything just to get those eyes on themselves. I mean, respectfully, even the baby, I remember he used to go out to South by Southwest in like a diaper and all of that stuff. And it's like, if you're making good music and you're representing hip hop and you're representing yourself, you shouldn't have to do that. And I think that that is the disadvantage that a lot of artists have in this era is making good music alone is just not enough because it's not enough, unfortunately, for us to talk about. And I feel like it's not enough for the masses to be interested in because everybody has so many distractions in front of their faces in 2026. I mean, there was an era where, again, making a dope album and being a dope artist was just enough. But we got to ask ourselves, even for our all time great artists, would that even be enough now to get the masses' attention? And so I wonder for those artists who are really making dope music and really great music, what does this look like for them? And so I think that's kind of what Rhapsody's speaking to. But what I will say to Rhapsody and the other people who are out there about the music, about the culture, and making dope music, you also have to go to the places that are celebrating you. Like I remember, and, shout out 38 Special. He did something in our recent interview that he didn't have to do. We were having technical issues in the first interview that him and I did. I think he was in a bad area or I was in a bad area, one of the two. And I recorded it and I was like, yo, I don't want to put it out like this, man. Can we reschedule and do another one? He was like, for sure. And we did another one and it was even better than the first one. He could have just been like, nah, I ain't doing that. You know what I mean? Like, but he understands that, these platforms speak to his market directly. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of artists who are, I mean, even on Rhapsody's level, really, really acknowledge that. I mean, Lupe Fiasco will do a little podcast tour, or whatever. He'll jump in on people's lives and all that, which I think is cool. Very dope. But people like Rhapsody who say these things and, and go viral saying these things because they're the truth. She's somebody that, has the ability and the voice and the fan base to jump on a platform and, and get some of those other platforms popping because of who she is and the fact that people are looking for, you know, interviews from her. Looking forward to some new music from Rhapsody, by the way, and would love to interview Rhapsody. I think that would be a great interview to really expound upon, some of these ideals. When it comes to Vlad and No Jumper, I don't really watch No Jumper. I mean, for you guys probably can, and no disrespect, I just don't watch it. You guys may be able to speak to what that platform really looks like as far as like with the interviews or the antics or whatever. But with Vlad, I mean, I think he just did a great interview with hip hop from Rockefeller. I thought that was a very informative interview and one of the best interviews that I've seen from Vlad. Now as far as some of the other things when it comes to Vlad's interviews that are a little bit more lowbrow, truth is, he doesn't go up there and tell people to tell them, tell everybody everything. People voluntarily do that. And I don't know if Vlad pays people or whatever, whatever, but if somebody is gonna offer some money for an interview, more times than not, people are gonna take it. And and I'm just gonna assume based on, some of the things that Boosie says, Vlad does, pay people for the interviews and he gets the views and all of that stuff in return. It's an exchange. But at what point are you, selling your culture short? And I think that's what Rhapsody's speaking to. Um, it's nothing wrong with hip hop sitting down with Vlad because I think that, hip hop gave a very informative interview. And I don't know who else has reached out to hip hop for an interview. I know him and Vlad go back, but he was able to give some very valuable information about, just the A&R side of things when it came to Rockefeller Records in their heyday, and his relationship with Kanye, how those things transpired, how working with Jay-Z and stuff transpired. So it's not all bad, but I think that when you pick the most, it's just about having journalistic integrity and integrity for the culture. And, some people just say, forget that, I'm going to get clicks. But I think everybody has to be on that similar page, and the fans included. If the fans would reject these things, and let's just say the video that Vlad did or the interview that Vlad did with hip hop is the highest rated video on Vlad TV, then he's gonna do more things in that direction. But if you go out there saying wild stuff, and those are the, most watched, and those are making the most money, then people are gonna repeat those things. And honestly, when at the end of the day, the culture loses. But I think my biggest concern when it comes to hip hop media and what Rhapsody's saying overall, we need the music to be able to match it. And I think that we also need incentives for artists to make quality material. There used to be an incentive to make a great album. When people were going to the store, you wanted people to gravitate to your album over all of these other people that were on the rack. When you had to make a choice of what two CDs you were buying a day, it was about the music itself. When it comes to streaming or whatever, none of those things matter. It's about, visibility. It's about brand visibility altogether. And whoever's going to do the wildest stuff to go viral and have the most uh, people talking about them on YouTube or, other social media platforms, more than likely it's going to translate to stream. So I would like to speak with Rhapsody about the fact that, we need to figure out what's the incentive for making a great album. What is going to get, people to really buy into the music again, and the MCing again. I think there is a lane when it comes to speaking about the things that are happening socially, because everybody's seeing those things and everybody's going through those things. But I mean, you got guys like D1 who do that as well, among others. But if they go out and do something, a stunt or whatever online, that's gonna go further than the music. So I think the hip hop's just in a place where we just got to figure out how do we get back to the integrity of the music and the integrity of the culture. I think we're in a Jerry Springer stage of hip hop media. I don't even want to say journalism because it's a mixed bag of everything. It's just hip hop media right now. And you have pages that have hip hop in their name, but post about anything that's going viral. And so it's just hip hop is just all over the place. And hip hop media is not, it's not really handling the music with integrity, unfortunately. And we're not, as fans, we're not giving artists incredible incentives for great albums. The only ones that get the incentives to make dope albums are the people that we already know. But when it comes to new artists, it's hard to say, because one song could get you more money or streams or whatever than putting together a full album. I mean, we saw that with like somebody like an Ice Spice, respectfully. She didn't need a full album. She had a viral moment and a viral song. So, but yeah, I would love for Rhapsody to expound upon that. What do you guys think? I mean, do you guys think that the problems with, the artists, the fans, or, us media people and everybody up, that's another point. When you have the artists themselves who are more so podcasters than actual artists, then the music takes a back seat. I really think that what's happening right now, music is in last place. And at the end of the day, hip hop's not gonna survive on moments. Hip hop's not gonna survive on viral antics and even interviews. You have to have music that comes along with these things. And music has to be a part of the cycle and it has to be a part of the culture. You can't not have it. All that other stuff is, fly by night. And I think that's why we don't really have much music that, sticks around anymore because the antics outweigh those things. I thought we were getting somewhere last year when Clips released Let God Sort Them Out, and it got the proper credit, the promotion, the credentials, all those things, man. It got everything that it should have gotten because it was a quality album. And I thought everybody was gonna follow suit. But, we haven't seen the mainstream really attach themselves to another, quality hip hop album since, you know. No one somebody said no one listens to music anymore. Again, there's no incentive for a young new artist to go out there and bust their ass to make a classic album. You know, there was incentive for Tribe to make, the low end theory. You know, it was incentive for Nas to make Illmatic and all those things. I got Southern Playalistic back there and all that stuff too. Like these guys had a point to prove, and they were proving they were who they were through the music. Now it's like, look, the music takes a back seat, and how many followers you got, what's your view count looking like, and all of those things. And at the end of the day, where's the music? And I think that's what really needs to be addressed next time that Rhapsody comes out and even speaks on this even more. It puts it out there that the culprits are Vlad and No Jumper, and we do have a lot of people who are vultures and use, like I said, the hip hop name and the hip hop title just to go out there and do whatever. But it comes down to the music, man. Because even if, let's just say, somebody made a dope album and say, you know what, I'm gonna go on Vlad to promote it. They go on Vlad, they can go out there and do the antics and all that. But if the album backs all that up, then you win, right? But there's no incentive for a great album to go, or at least, I mean, people don't see that. They say, look, we'll just do the antics. The hardest thing to do in music, in my personal opinion, is two things: a hit record and making a great album. I think just based on the chances and having to do it over and over as far as like making, a full body of work, I feel like that's got to be harder than making that one song. But to make one song that everybody gravitates to, that's very difficult as well. Well, speaking of great albums, the game said that his album is 99.9% done. And everybody's saying this is the documentary 3. So, look, Game dropped 2 mixtapes. One mixtape was in December, the other one was in January. I think he was rapping at a very high level. I speak very highly of the song Whatever, um, Art Basel, Chrome Hearts, a lot of other great mic performances on there, dope production on there. I hope that everything follows suit when it comes to the documentary 3. The documentary is what it is. It's celebrating what? Is it 21 years? Yeah, 21 years this year. The documentary 2 and 2.0, I thought 2.5, excuse me. Was it 2? Yeah, 2.5, dope. Dope. And then we got the documentary 3. I look, with Game, I hope we get more of what we were getting from him on these mixtapes. I actually like Game when he collaborates less because I like to hear more of him. He's a very dope beat picker, and when he's really on his rap shit, he can really go for it. Now, I do think this thing with him and Kendrick, though, this has to be something that has to deal with the fact that his album is coming. And I think the same thing with the verses and everything that he did there. Um, I don't know. Game's consistent. So I have to think that the documentary 3 is gonna be good, but I don't know anything about the documentary 3. I don't know if yeah, his versus performance was very lackluster. I gotta be real about that. And I'm a game advocate, but yeah, his performance on versus was lackluster. And I think that's because of his opponent. I think he was trying to play towards, YG, but YG came with it. You know what I'm saying? And it was a love fest. And I think he might have tried to play things that played well to YG's audience. One of the things that I did notice also was with YG's music being a little bit more current, it kind of made Game's older songs sound a little older than they actually were. And I don't know if that's because, again, the styles just didn't mix and there wasn't a good matchup for Game. But yes, Game was drunk and he didn't make great choices. He didn't really pick the best songs. Me and Super were actually watching it. Super was texting me or whatever, and I was like, it was like, yo, this is not good, man. Like Game could do so much better. I feel like I could have chosen better records for Game, but again, the YG matchup wasn't the best matchup for him. But that's no excuse. I still got to give it to YG, even if it's a discussion. The fact that it is the conversation that alone goes to YG. So, but anyway, documentary 3. I don't know anything about the album. Originally, we we thought that Kanye was gonna produce it or executive produce it. Look, that's already, when you say Kanye is gonna produce the album for you, that's already like, okay, that's probably not gonna happen, right? And now he's saying it's 99.9% done. We don't know anything about the album. Again, I hope that it's the guys who are producing his mixtapes with DJ Drama. I hope they produce this album. Um, I hope we got minimal features or whatnot because I think Game operates better in that light. But when it comes to him and Kendrick, he was sending Kendrick some subliminals, man. On these mixtapes, man. He need to go all out. He need to go all out when it comes to Kendrick. If he's gonna do that, and if that's what this is about. If it's about, and with them, I'm sure it's a competitive thing. But I will say this about Kendrick, even though he did the control verse. Yeah, I think it is Mike and Keys. Um, Even though he did the control verse, I think Kendrick's in a place in his career where he's not about, you know, sparring back and forth on some competitive stuff. The truth is, when it comes to Kendrick Lamar, especially after the Drake thing, Kendrick Lamar has always been the media darling. He's done everything he needs to do from a fan perspective, with the classic albums and, subject matter and all that. He's done everything that he needs to do to be considered top 5 by the media and by most fans in his era. I mean, so Kendrick doesn't have to battle anybody. He doesn't have to go out there and compete with anybody. And honestly, I feel like he went at Drake because Drake was baiting him, and I mean Drake was sending him all kind of subliminals on the album with 21 Savage, and it just came to a head. And Kendrick came out there on the Future and Metro record and said what he said and set it off, man. And I think that's the only reason why this even happened to that degree. In the record, of course, with Drake and J. Cole. So saying all that to say, I don't think that Kendrick's gonna be out here battling anybody anymore. I mean, because there's no point for him. He's Kendrick Lamar. He's solidified, and I think that when we look at it, especially from a media standpoint, when people do their top fives and top 10 MCs all time, Kendrick's gonna be in the top 5. Um, by a lot of estimations, people are gonna have him in the top 3. He's accomplished a lot. His Grammy Awards. weigh a lot. Good Kid, Mad City, The Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, like these albums weigh a lot. The Super Bowl halftime show he held down by himself. Um, the Battle with Drake, not not like us being the record that it is. Like Kendrick doesn't have to compete with anyone. Who is Kendrick competing with at this point? You know, he's close to. I mean, he's solidified and on every level. And they sat there and in the beginning, they crowned him early. They knew he was going to carry the West Coast over over the finish line. Now, I don't know how Game looked at that in the moment because at the end of the day, Game kind of opened the door for a lot of those guys who, who came in right after him in that generation of the West Coast because Game was kind of alone out there. He was a lone wolf from what, '05, '06 to Kendrick and TDE and them came in and Nipsey and all those guys. I mean, listen, I ain't saying that he's top 3, top 5 to me, but if we're being honest, man, when these people make these lists, they're gonna have Kendrick high. They got him in number 2 already on a lot of these lists, man. What was that? Billboard? They had him number 2. I mean, by the media's estimation, I see it. I see it trickling down like this. I see Jay Z being number 1. I see Kendrick being no. I see Tupac being number 2. Then I see Kendrick, and then maybe Nas, and then they stop putting Eminem in the top 5. Then maybe Biggie or something. I don't think Drake's gonna be there because of this battle. And I mean, the truth is, man, I never was big on any of those publications putting Drake super high. I think Drake is such a hybrid. He can rap, of course, but he can do more than rap. He's more so an overall artist, right? Um, but I just never thought that when it came down to just mic skills and we're going in a cipher, let's just say you throw those guys that I mentioned in the cipher, you you're not gonna have Drake in the cipher with Rakim and Biggie. You're just not. Now I think Kendrick can get down like that. I think Cole can get down like that. But yeah, I think that when we talk about an all-time list, that's where Drake hurts, in my opinion. He got the hit songs and all that. And I do think that when it comes to a cipher, I could hear LL Cool J in a cipher with Biggie and these guys. I mean, they might end up having a better verse than LL respectfully, but he fits in those environments. I mean, we've seen it on 4 3 2 1. Um, but look, if you ask me, let's get me involved. When it comes to Kendrick and his all-time ranking, I think it's gonna call me a hater. You gonna call me a hater or a glazer, either way. When it comes to Kendrick and the all-time ranking, I gotta say he's got to be top 10. I mean, he's got to be top 10. I mean, I'm putting Jay over him. I'm putting Nas over him. I'm putting Tupac over him. I'm gonna put Rakim over him. I got Ice Cube over Kendrick. I got Scarface over Kendrick. Um, mm, Getting kind of murky here, man. I mean, look, Ghostface is one of my all-time favorites, man. But if I'm being objective, man, I don't know. Uh, LL, LL over Kendrick. Mm, I don't know, man. KRS. Uh, I still got KRS over Kendrick. Yeah, I still got KRS over Joel Ortiz over Kendrick. Come on. Look, again, I got to be objective here. At the end of the day, yeah, you can like Joel Ortiz over Kendrick, but he has Good Kid, Mad City in his catalog. He has To Pimp a Butterfly in his catalog. He has Damn in his catalog. I mean, he has those things. I'm still say LL over Kendrick. I mean, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I have to. And we gotta get a clear cut criteria. And you know what? If you guys had 7 pieces of criteria, right? What's that criteria look like? What does the criteria look like? What are we judging the great MCs on? Because if we just say straight up lyrical skill, because we had this whole thing with Lupe and all of that, and he was talking about, 100 people rap better than Kendrick Lamar and all of that. Look, I think that when it comes to Lupe and Kendrick, that's a good conversation. Um, I think Lupe's the better lyricist of the two. I would say Kendrick, I would give him the edge on the catalog. But Kendrick's strongest point is his catalog. Um, yeah, man, Ghost is my guy, man. Ghost is he's the inspiration for so much. It would hurt me to even put Kendrick over Ghost. Would I rather listen to Ghost over Kendrick? Of course. Where's my we got Supreme right here, man. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm being objective, and that's what it's about, people say Lupe's better. All right. What's our what's our criteria? What's our criteria? And look, we got to give it to Kendrick, man. He seized the moment. He came out there and did what he did and became who he became. And I will say this: I don't know if Kendrick would have dominated. Let me be honest. I don't think Kendrick would have dominated a previous era. But the truth is, from an MC standpoint, he dominates this era. And we got to give him credit for that. We got to give him credit for that. But I also feel like Lupe in this era, let's just say, let's just say, Food and Liquor, Lupe comes out at the time that Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick comes out. I think that's a different situation. I do. Um, yeah, yeah. Y'all like the criteria that Coop and I had? I mean, we could keep that. See, we got Maul with the super chat. Shout out to Maul super chatting over here, man, showing love. Um, categories gotta be, I'm sorry, catalog, I think he means. Catalog's gotta be number one for criteria. This is the thing, and I agree. If we do, let's just say we do, I want to say 9 criteria. I feel like they all got to weigh different because if we're talking about like featured appearances or something like that, that can't weigh the same as um album catalog or catalog. I think catalog is I think catalog should be considered one thing. And I say that because if we talk about classic songs or hit records or something like that, I don't think that's fair to somebody coming from this generation because, you know, singles and hits just aren't what they used to be in a radio era or, an era where TV and radio actually matter. Um Don Donna Forget About It. Shout out to Donna Forget About It. All right, so this is what he has. Stage presentation. Okay, let's just say performance, right? I'm gonna write this down. MCing, classic album. It's a good start. Okay. Um, we talking about MCing, we talking about lyricism, or what we doing, Donnie? Forget about it. I mean, look, I do like the live performance part of it because I do think that performing is a huge, huge part of MCing. And again, we got to weigh these categories. Like, to me, I feel like live performance is more important than featured appearances, in my opinion. Um, where Kendrick weighs heavy is, let's just say, his catalog. His live performance is pretty high too. His lyrical ability is pretty high. I say, yeah, let's just say lyrical ability. Lyrical ability. You know what? So somebody mentioned me and Coop. Let me pull up the categories that we had back in the day. Let's see. Let me see if I can find that. I'm sure it's still in my phone somewhere. What was that? Let's see what we got. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Thumbs up in the chat, by the way. Let's see. There was because I feel like I came across our criteria not too long ago, actually. This was. Hopefully, I still got this documented. I don't know. No, that's something else. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight, man. This is. Oh, found it. Found it. Found it. MC rating. I might end up putting this on the screen if I can. You know what? Let me do that. Let me do that just so you guys can see it because I want us all to see the same thing. Let's see. That's not it. But put this on the screen. That ain't right. Nope. Gotta love it. All right, here we go. All right, here's an example. Can y'all see that? Are these all the criteria we had? Hold on. Oh, actually, we had a bunch of criteria. Hold on. You know what? Let me put this one up here. Yeah, this one's a little better. Hold on, yeah. Nah, I'm gonna put this one up here. Let me change this out real quick. Hold on. You can get a clearer picture with. Come on, come on. All right. There we go. Bam. All right. So we had a bunch of criteria. So Biggie here. Overall score. Let me see. Can the people see that? I'm looking on my other screen just to make sure. You guys see that? All right. So lyrics, voice, very important. I want to make sure everybody is getting this. Thumbs up in the chat if y'all see this. Should post it. Yeah. All right, there we go. I think we see it. All right, so we got lyrics, voice, delivery, storytelling, catalogs. So we separated catalogs with songs and albums. Collaborations, that's the features. Longevity of records, longevity of career. Songwriting skills, legacy, live performance, content, intangibles, hook game, that's a good one. Versatility and overall score. So, by this metric, Biggie got 14 on lyrics because I think what we did was we made the scale of lyrics 1 to 15. and I think everything else was like, I think lyrics and catalog was like 1 to 15, and all the other things were like 1 to 10. So Biggie got 14 with lyrics, 10 with voice, 10 with delivery. I think voice and delivery can be coupled in. I don't know. Storytelling 10, catalog of albums 12, uh, collaborations 10. I think Big was a very strong collaborator. Longevity of records 5, longevity of career 10, songwriting skills 10, legacy 10, live performance 8, content 7, intangibles 10, hook game 10, versatility 10. And Biggie gets an overall score of 146. What do you guys think about that? I think we should post this actually. Um, hmm, damn. How did Rick Ross end up with the same score as Biggie? Hmm, I don't know. I don't know about that. But ah, this is the thing. Are we I don't know. I want to have less categories than that. And I would like to have an odd number of categories because let me go back to this real quick. I'm gonna let y'all know which ones I think should probably go away. Hold on. I think you keep lyrics, right? Keep lyrics. I think you keep voice. Voice is important. Delivery, flow and delivery can kind of stay actually. Storytelling, I think catalog should be just one thing. Collaboration, I don't really like the longevity of records thing. Mm, I don't really like the longevity of career thing either. Ugh. I think the longevity is important, but it's an unfair advantage to people who just came before somebody, and that doesn't make you better. There has to be a better way to do that, right? Songwriting skills, I think that can be taken out. Legacy, I think, could be taken out because that's pretty vague. Um, Live performance, I think, needs to stay. Content, I think that could be coupled into, I don't know, content's important. Intangibles could be taken out. I think hook game could be taken out. And versatility, I don't know. I think versatility can kind of go too. So, yeah, I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna look at that. I think stage presence can go. I don't know, man. I think live performance is so important because even to this day, these guys in hip hop, man, like that's what keeps some of our veterans going. And I don't think that that's fair to take away that live performance element from somebody like a Big Daddy Kane, a KRS One, who puts so much into their stage show. Um, but next topic: hip hop MVP of 2026 so far. Who you guys got, man? Because right now, I mean, who's even in the running? In my personal opinion, I think 38 Special did a great job of getting the internet to talking about lyrics and talking about what he's doing and who he can out rap. Because you know what, we were talking about the antics and things like that earlier. Shout out to Maul with the super chat. Maul's in the building. He says, in my opinion, voice is the number one thing that will determine how well you keep evolving years later to new age beats. That's real because you know what? I think that when it comes to this era MCs, I don't think many of them have strong rap voices. And I think that's what we're missing from a lot of our MCs, even the ones that are very lyrically skilled. I don't need to call out any names. I think you guys can kind of use your imagination, but I think what they're missing is strong rap voices. Um, when you listen to clips, right? And you listen to Pusha T and Malice, these guys have strong rap voices. And when certain people collab with them, you can hear how their voices just aren't as strong. But yes, 2026 is hip hop MVP so far. I think it might be 38, man. Because again, 38 got people out here rapping, and he's rapping, you know. Not like he ever stopped. I like what Rome Streets did. Say Rome Streets so far, it's not even close. Rome Streets, okay. We got to put a poll up here. Uh-oh. The Jay-Z poll is kind of close. Uh, it is 52% to 48%. Y'all saying that we do need a Jay-Z album. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna put it up there, Rome Streets or let's see. All right, got the poll up there. Rome Streets are 38. But you guys got Rome so far. I ain't mad at that. Shout out to Rome Streets, man. Hey, he always bringing heat. He's super consistent. Um, again, I think it's more than just putting together a dope album. I think you got to have people out here talking. I think that when it comes to, and my pick would be 38, by the way. I think the conversation that he created, even with the Jadakiss thing, it was a challenge, and he was willing to stand on his skill, his lyrics, and all those things, and it wasn't anything outside of that. See, that's bringing it back to the music, and I'm glad that we're getting back to a point where people are able to bring those things back to the music and bring it back to your skill set. And if you want to say who out raps who or whatever, be willing and able to stand on that if it came down to that. And 38's been ready, and he's been on his grind. And his album, dope album, he's spitting, and this ain't nothing new. These guys are super consistent. I love, when I talked to him and he was talking about, basically handling his business as an independent artist. And one of the things that he said to me that really stuck out is he saying one of the biggest misconceptions people have about independent artists is that they want to be major artists. He's like, I don't want to be a major artist. Like, I love the freedom. I love being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it and reaching out to my fans straight up and giving the fans what they need straight up. And for him to be able to create a conversation like this as an independent artist, just straight up off of bars, off of a song that when did that come out, man? Sunday School was like 2019. I think it is I think it's pretty dope. And it might wake Jadakiss up too. Who knows? So I think it's a win-win for hip hop. So I'm going 38. I'm gonna go listen to Rome's album again, but you know, it's um it's up for grabs. I know we're in August or whatnot. The game's coming, but this year is just wide open for anybody to take over. Um, with that being said, I have to say, for the fall off having such hype and such anticipation, it's been 10 years in the making. For that not to be the choice, I mean, is the fall off, I don't want to say a flop. Is the fall off a disappointment in 2026? Because to me, I think even if we look at the other major people, I think Bully kind of overachieved. Well, I don't want to say overachieved. That's too strong. I think Bully was better than most of us thought it was going to be. I think when it comes to Drake's album, I mean he dropped three, so it's like it's really hard to gauge. Um, but I don't think that for his level of notoriety, I don't think those records are, taking over the year in the way that we would expect that they would. Ti's album, I think, is dope, but I do think that it suffers from not having an identity. Um, it's Ti showing off his versatility, but the part that works against it is the fact that it doesn't have a culture, if you will. Yeah, the fall off might have literally been the fall off. And no pun intended. And I love Cole and I hate that it's going down like that because I know I could hear how much he was putting into this album. And it just sounded like some of those songs could have been made 10 years ago. I had this conversation with a friend of mine too, man. Like, we talk about the 90s and why the 90s was so dynamic for hip hop. But that's because every year sounded drastically different than the next. Listening to hip hop talk to Vlad, he was talking about how much of Reasonable Doubt was recorded in 95. You can hear that. Reasonable Doubt sounds like a 1995 album sonically, right? It doesn't sound like 96. It sounds more so 95, which, it's not a bad thing. It's just the fact that it just shows you how distinctive sounds were in that era. 94 sounds like 94, 95 sounds like 95, 96 sounds like 96, 97, whatever, whatever. But I feel like in the past 10 years in hip hop and in music in general, you can't really draw a line in the sand and say, okay, that sounds like 2022. And then this sounds like 2026. Or that sounds like 2023. I feel like since 2018 at least, there hadn't been any real drastic sound changes. I mean, when somebody like a Travis Scott comes through or whatever, yeah, you hear the sound changes and the differences in that. But for the most part, we haven't had any drastic sound changes. And so with that being said, it changes the dynamic when people are dropping music. It's like it comes and goes and we're waiting for the next thing because it's not like we can put a stamp on these sounds and say, "Hey, this is that new shit. This is that new sound." It makes it where it's not as exciting. And now I think we're at a place where we're getting a lot of sounds that are more so throwback sounds. Even when you get that album that Metro made last year that sounded like the Snap era and things like that. Like it takes you to a place. 10 years from now, are any of the songs that are being made then going to be able to take you back to 2026? And those are the things that I fear when it comes to hip hop. But who is the catalyst for that? Like, I think that that's on the producers. And, I'm not a big fan of gatekeepers and all of that, but I will say this. Gatekeepers did make it where we had new sounds, and that sound from last year or the year before was no longer relevant, if you will. And we don't have that anymore. We don't have any regional sounds, and we don't have any we don't have any I mean, I don't think anything's quote unquote has a date on it, if you will. And so now we're just waiting for original sounds and people to come through and be the best original self that they could possibly be. So, but yeah, I mean, do we listen to Let God Sort Them Out and say, yo, that sounds like, 20, 25? I don't know. Um, but again, those are some things that I think that, the current climate suffering from. But somebody got to get in the lab and say, yo, I'm gonna do something new. Blame Wayne, Drake, and Future. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around, but I will say that. I mean, it doesn't seem like guys are doing anything too new or taking too many chances. Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, got the QR code if you're wondering about that, man. That QR code is the according to Hip Hop membership that we just opened up too, man. We're gonna be doing a lot of interacting with just you guys, and what I'm saying, making this thing a lot more exclusive and a lot more catered to the core audience as according to hip hop grows even more. But yes, speaking of new music, OGs or whatever, um, and media, people have a lot to say about my take on the fact that Rakim not being covered by mainstream media dropping new music is a little disrespectful. And saying, oh, people are doing reaction videos and all that stuff. That's cool. I love that people are doing reaction videos, but it's a little different than talking to Rakim and talking about the music, and being real organic and having that conversation. I mean, I could do a reaction video too, or whatever. 'Cause somebody was like, "Yo, where's your reaction video, King?" I mean, look, y'all know how I feel about Rakim. I think he's the greatest lyricist ever in hip hop history, and anytime that he says that he's gonna do some music, and he puts his mind to getting in the studio and saying that he's going to deliver us something, I feel like that's a special moment. And I think that anybody who covers hip hop or who talks about hip hop should be talking about that because we talk about everything else. This goes back to what Rhapsody was saying. Like, we talk about so much in hip hop media. We do not talk about the music or the artists themselves. And, back to, Rhapsody's point, we do give our historical um timeline away to certain interviewers or interviewees and all of that, which is okay. But I do think that it needs to be more balanced when it comes to the music. And that's why, again, I would give Vlad props for his hip hop interview. That was about music. And for us music nerds who want to know how certain things came together and, kind of connect the dots with some of the historical records that we've always, loved and know how things work behind the scenes when it came to that incredible Rockefeller movement. Um, I love the mystery or the mysterious nature, if you will, of Rakim. Rakim is he is like a mythical figure to a certain extent, and when he comes outside, I think that it should get the same recognition of when any of our other legends come outside. I mean, we just saw Billboard ranked Jay-Z's Roots Freestyle the best hip hop song of 2026. To me, that kind of lets you know where we're at musically, and that's no disrespect to Jay. Jay ain't got nothing to do with that. But the fact that a freestyle that I don't even know if it was 16 bars or whatever, a freestyle from the Roots Picnic from Jay-Z is the highest ranked hip hop song of 2026 by a publication. We all got to step it up. Fans and everything, man. And I think what's happening right now, and it's been happening since 2020, in my personal opinion, we are we are closing that gap where the grassroots of hip hop, the artists and the fans are becoming the mainstream. We're becoming the media. Because some of these people who used to be the main outlets, they're not the main outlets anymore. They got the numbers, but they don't have the people. And we got the people. But Rakim, man, I would I don't know how he's gonna do the whole rollout. Um, but it would be very special for Rakim to sit down with some people who really know his history, his aura, and his legacy, and we really talk some hip hop, because I feel like that's the missing link right now. We can really learn from each other, and we can really learn from our legends who are out here making new music. I want to know what that feels like for them, right? I want to know for our legends what that looks like. Maul with the super chat says, hip hop has been boring this year. This year, 8 months in, it kind of has, man. I didn't want to say it like that, but I think that, and that was one of the things too. I was like, I want to jump back on the mic, man, because covering the culture in individual videos and all that is great, but and I'm gonna still do that. But it was something about the energy when it came to these lives, especially when we got new music, especially when, it came down to doing these station heads and all of that. Everybody was hearing new music at the same time. I'll never forget like that. Let me see if I it's getting a little that's too much. Like, I'll never forget when we did that station head for King's Disease 3, and we all heard that at one time on Station Head, and we were going song for song. That felt like opening up a new album back in the day and putting it in the car and listening to it with your friends, except for it was like 400 or 500 of us or whatever. And I think that, again, I remember Hit Boy saying this when we interviewed him and he was talking to Coop. He said that our show was big for him, a motivator to produce, the stuff that him and Nas were producing. I'm paraphrasing here because they had already made King Disease 1. But he was talking about, how we would talk about hip hop history and those things. We were a good source of information for him. And one of the big things that Coop used to say is the fact that Nas is like he is who he is when he's rhyming over those beat breaks. And I think Hit Boy took that to heart and he ran with it. And it was like they made magic, no pun intended. I kept saying that they were making magic together, and they actually made an album called Magic. So, not saying that we influenced that, but again, it's energy that was being created. Hold on, guys. My lights. Hold on. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's energy that was being created by, the media and the artists and the fans. We were all connected at that time. And I feel that that can happen again. That can really happen again. But, us as media, we got to get on that same page and inspire the artists who inspire us and, and see how the fans are connecting with that as well. That's the incentive. Because right now, we're having a boring year musically, I feel like. And I like the Larry June album. I thought that was dope. I was listening to that the other day. But think about it. If you're an artist and, you got a show that, is bringing in hundreds to thousands of people into a live stream to talk about music, don't you want to be the artist that makes music that gets that group of people excited? That's the incentive. I mean, right now, with hip hop media's role, and even a lot of the podcasters' role, where's the incentive for an artist to go out there and make a classic album? What's the incentive for an artist to go out there and say they want to be hip hop's MVP for 2026? You know? And so that's why I was like, look, man, got to step in and step up. Y'all got Rome Street at 56% over 38 special. But yeah, man, I mean, look, that's what According to Hip Hop's about, being able to connect with the fans and giving the artists that connectivity to be able to get that recognition when they make something great and we can sit there and talk about it. Yo, what's good, Moss? I've been in here for a minute now. I mean, I can keep it going, man. We can keep it going. We can go Tight Quill too. Look, yeah, man. I mean, look, I like Larry June, but again, he got the monotone flow, he got the monotone production and all that. What do you guys think is hip hop's album of the year so far in 2026? Because I see you guys think Rome Streets is the MVP. Rome Streets got album of the year too. What hip hop album this year you buying on vinyl? I know earlier in the show, Super said IDK. Again, I hmm, y'all want me to keep it going? Um, what y'all want to talk about? Throw in the super chat and I'll answer whatever question. Let's do that. It's been a minute since I did a live. I'll answer whatever question. Um, whether it's a debate question online, whatever. Um, I'm sipping too. So Drake got album of the year. All right, I gotta say this because I know everybody wanted me to speak on Do or Die 3. I received I heard Do or Die 3 pretty early. It didn't move me. And maybe I need to go back and listen again, but it didn't move me. And so I didn't do a review on it. I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't it didn't move me. It's kind of back to what we talked about with wanting to hear something new and new sounds. Um, Even the devil smiles. Yeah. I mean, IDK is, you guys run away. Yeah, somebody said, yeah, I'm not gonna say Do or Die 3 was whack. Cause AZ is AZ. He is who he is on the mic, man. It was it was what most people would expect. It wasn't and me and Ron Bay talked about this. It wasn't something that was like gonna move the needle per se. And I think that to expect that from a veteran, for one of our veterans, I think isn't reasonable anyway. But it's short and to the point. It's cool. I didn't think it was anything that I needed to break down per se. Um, Man, if Alfredo 2 would have came out this year, that would have been album of the year easy. Um, I think. I mean that's kind of where we're at this year. Well, I won't say easy, because again, y'all know my pick is. I know a lot of people are saying IDK, but my pick is Deontay Hitchcock's "Junkie in the Sun." So it would be between that and if I don't know. I have to, if I'm being honest, Alfredo 2 is dope, but I think that I might I might give Junkie in the Sun a nod over that just based off of, content, lyrical content. And even the production. Diversity in production, I would probably give it the nod. But again, I'm holding Junkie in the Sun really, really high. I think it's a really dope album. And usually, my contacts, they'll reach out to me about interviewing an artist. Some artists I've heard of, some not so much. They'll send the music, and I hate to say it. I mean, truth is, like, in your day to day, especially when you're a music person, and I think that we've gotten to a point in life where we wake up, we know what songs get us going, we know what albums get us going, and what you're in the mood to listen to or who you're in the mood to listen to. And so sometimes it's very difficult to say, all right, well, let me go listen to this new song or a new album or artist that, I've heard before, but you got to get into a mode to listen to new music, is what I'm trying to say. And so when I got to Junkie in the Sun, I was like, yo, this is really dope. And I kept listening over and over. And I'm like, I'm actually excited about this interview. So I'm hitting my contact up like, yo, man, when can we do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting questions and everything together. And I want to talk to Deontay again, man. But, it was very interesting talking to a guy from his era because I think he's about 32, maybe. But when we met up, his little brother was there. His little brother is younger. I think he was born in like 2004 or something, 2005. He had his little brother with him. He had the camera and all that. And we're sitting here talking music. And it's really interesting talking to not just a younger music listener. We had three generations of hip hop listeners right there. But not just somebody who is a younger listener, but this man is actively out here making dope shit. Um he I'm the more Outcast era. They knew Outcast, of course, but again, that was more so them going back as opposed to being directly influenced by. So a lot of, one of the things that he said that I thought was really cool is he named a bunch of artists, and I'll let him tell this story. I think he said it in the interview, but they got like a group chat where they're always throwing bars at each other and, what I'm saying, throwing verses and ideas and all that stuff at each other and, kind of challenging each other in that way. And I think that's really cool. It's really interesting. And I think that that's something that hip hop needs to really look at more. And it gave me an idea too, just to let you guys know, because we're doing this. I want to do, according to hip hop's um, freshman version of XXL's freshman cover. But this cover is going to not only have artists that I wouldn't say new per se, because it's really difficult to quantify who's new because people that you really don't aren't that familiar with might have like 5 or 6 albums. I mean, that's just the times we live in. But a cover of people who you aren't that familiar with, but they all got bars and they all got music to back up those bars. And I was thinking that we do a cover per se, digital cover, whatever, whatever, but pick like 5 MCs or 5 or 6 MCs, and they all have to go out there and do their freestyle. And we want those freestyles to be incredibly impressive too. So that was one of the things that, even talking to Deontay Hitchcock, that inspired me. I was like, a person like him needs light. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Phil Days, always there. And this is years ago now. This is when Wale was new. I remember seeing that video on YouTube back in the day. Some of y'all might know who I'm talking about. Y'all know Phil Day from DC. I remember watching that video back in the day, and this is when I just had the idea for according to hip hop. I remember watching that video back in the day, thinking like, this ain't never gonna get on BET. This ain't never gonna, what I'm saying, be like heavy rotation out here. This is the artist that I want to build according to hip hop for, or these type of artists, where is like, the Hot 97s, the Power 105s, and all these people or whatever. Um, these are the people that these are the artists that people need to know are out here. And I keep harping on Deontay Hitchcock, but he was just such a perfect example of that. And it's like people need to know that these guys are out here and these guys are making music because one of the big things I asked him, just like we were talking about with the Rapsody shit, I was like, what's the incentive to make a dope album for, an artist these days? And his answer to me was, man, I would be doing this shit if I wasn't getting paid for it. I mean, he just wants to make great music because he loves music that much. How many people are actually out there like that? And for the few people that are out there like that, there needs to be some incentive. You know what I'm saying? And he's gonna get on his festival stages. I know he is. I mean, I'm happy that he got on the Breakfast Club. I even, you know, texted him or whatever, congratulated him. He was very humble even about that. But those things need to keep going. There needs to be incentives to make an album even better than that. There used to be the incentive when I was growing up was the 5 mics. Everybody wanted the 5 mics. And this is young Mike D or whatever, not understanding the politics of, media like the Source magazine and all that. I saw Illmatic get 5 mics. I saw Life After Death get 5 mics. And I saw Akuma and I get 5 mics. And I said, hey, that's the pinnacle. And if I'm going to make music, I was literally in the studio with, my group member at that time. We were sitting there trying to put together the perfect album using Akuma and I as the blueprint, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is not just because Akuma and I is a classic, because it is, but because the Source gave it 5 mics. And that was the incentive that we wanted to get a Source Award, all that shit. But for an artist now, what is the real incentive to go out there and make a great album? I mean, especially if you're gonna get talked about if you're not even making music. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who are quote unquote hip hop artists that we know of, and we don't know any of their music. That is wild when you think about that. And I would say this: we're gonna do our job here at According to Hip Hop, and we're about to take things to an even higher level. As a lot of stuff that I don't even want to disclose out here because we got a lot of biters. But I do think that it's unfortunate for a lot of the former hip hop artists that are in the podcast space to not put an onus on that, because I feel like they should be closer to, what I'm saying, the music than even us. They've had record deals. They've been through all of that. And we have to champion bodies of work, because to me, as an artist, that's the highest. That's the highest honor. Like, if we're ranking artists, we talk about Stevie Wonder and Prince or whoever else. It's the albums, man. I do want to say this too, man. I saw DJ Envy. Actually, let me play the clip because I don't want to just take Envy out of context. He said something about Chris Brown being a better performer than Michael Jackson or something. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see, DJ Envy. And look, I'll speak my piece on it. Let's see what we got. Conversation around. Is this it? Okay. Here's what DJ Envy had to say in regards to being the better performer between Michael Jackson and Chris Brown. Here we go. Let me know if you guys hear this.
Absolutely. To me,
Oh God.
Chris Brown is the greatest performer ever.
Hello.
So you say
I've been
Chris Brown's
saying
better
this.
than Michael Jackson?
Yes.
No.
Yes. When it comes to dancing, absolutely. He's Michael Jackson on crack now.
So DJ Envy, you've seen a lot of different genres and eras of music and
Damn.
performers
Call
right
me
there.
old.
Definitely said you was antique.
Yeah, she called me antique.
I'm just saying,
ancient.
like when you said I trust you because you've been right there, like you've literally seen it. A lot of us might have seen it from a distance,
To
heard
me-
stories.
To me, Chris Brown is Michael Jackson on crack, right? And the
I
reason
agree
I
with
say that
though.
is he can do everything that Michael Jackson can do, the moves and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but he does it on a different level. Like
Mhm.
he has the acro, he can flip, he can fly in the air, he does the
Yes.
crump, he does the hip hop,
He can
does
fight.
I don't know about the fight. He does the contemporary. Like he breaks every dance style into his movements, and to me, better than Michael
You
Jackson.
know they're gonna be on you for that.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. I mean, I got eyes and they got eyes
I
too.
agree with you to a certain extent, but now I get it. Like you said, Michael Jackson on crack. I do agree with that.
Like
Okay.
like they can't tie that boy's shoes. Like, and the fact that he just got off tour and does this
Nah,
every
that's
night,
true.
flies in the air for 30 minutes,
Like-
then still gets like he does not stop dancing.
All right, this is look, if you want to say that you want to say Chris Brown's a better dancer than Michael Jackson, I mean, I think that's somewhat of a conversation, and and I don't want to denigrate Chris in any way because I think Chris Brown's phenomenal, and Chris Brown's footwork, if you want to get real specific, is off the charts. But you said performer, and to me, the singing is the difference, and I would say the apex of Michael Jackson as a overall performer, and this is I don't think there's any performer in the world that outperforms 87 Bad Tour Michael Jackson. Um, I was actually looking at the Bad Tour last night, and the fact that he starts it off with "Wanna Be Starting Something," and then he'll go into like think this place hotel. He kept nothing but upbeat song. Like he wasn't even giving himself a rest. And he's singing live, jumping into this choreography, jumping out of the choreography, and you know, love Chris. But I just think the creativity, from the signature choreography from Michael and the execution of it all without, you know, all of the tight ropes and all that stuff. Like it's off the charts. I mean, and then he'll stop and sing a She's Out of My Life and Human Nature with perfect pitch. It's I'm sorry, all of those things are in the performance. Can't you can't discount the singing. That's what I don't like about when people, either even compare folks to Michael Jackson or, or have debates in regards to Michael Jackson. They'll qualify things. How can you sit there and say better performer and then just hone in on the dancing? Dancing and singing is the performance, right? So it's like, don't discount the singing part because let's just say they're equal or somewhat equal, even if you give Chris a little bit of the edge when it comes to the dancing. The singing's gonna go to Michael. Like, hands down. The singing and dancing together is gonna go to Michael. It just is what it is. I've seen people even Ray Daniels did this. He was talking about Michael Jackson and Kanye and comparing them some kind of way or whatever. And I guess he went album for album, but he started with Off the Wall. You can't discount young Michael Jackson. Like the child Michael Jackson, the child prodigy is a legend in himself. To me, even when we talk Prince, incredible, incredible artist. Shit, second greatest ever next to Michael to me. But if we talk about, writer, producer, arranger, musician, and all of that, in my opinion, Prince stands alone. But overall artists, where they differ from me, or where I give Michael the edge, is young Michael Jackson. You can't erase the fact that that kid Michael Jackson exists. I want to say something too before I get out of here. I think it's very clear that, the kid Michael Jackson and his legend and all of the things that, that child prodigy was able to do and execute on at such a young age and in such a primitive time in the music industry, that that kid and his individual legend is what pushed adult Michael Jackson to be even better than that. He wanted to step out of the shadow of his child self. And that kid was so great that it made him push himself to be what he became as an adult so that you would somewhat forget about that kid. And that's a lot to say about that, man, because that's incredible in itself, man. But oh yeah, of course Stevie's up there. I mean, to me, Stevie has the best album run ever in the 70s. I mean, that's the greatest album run ever. You're not gonna find a 4 or 5 album run like that. Janet is there too, but nah man, what Stevie did with first finale, songs in the key of life. I'm not saying them in order, but Inner Visions and um shit. The other one I'm thinking about, you guys are gonna name it in the chat. It's because I'm on live. Um, yeah, man, Stevie's catalog is insane. And then in the 80s came with Hotter Than July. It's like, nah, man, Stevie's catalog is insane. Nobody's nobody alive is beating Stevie in the verses. And honestly, if somebody really knows this Stevie Wonder, it's very difficult for anybody to beat him in a 20 song verses. It's just crazy. We don't again, but those are because of albums. And albums are what are those separators when we talk about our all-time great artists. And I just fear that if we don't make albums important again, then we're just going to be listening to old albums. You know what I mean? Like albums create the energy and it still does. Like um I even saw it when KD3 came out. Like it was an energy about, you guys in the chat and it's still one of our most successful, if not our most successful live. When Coop and I came on here to talk about King's Disease 3 after everybody had heard it, and the after the station head. That was our livest show ever. Like I was reading off super chats like I couldn't even get to all of them. Albums do that. And albums are the championship in the music industry. They just are. And at some point, man, we gotta make albums important again. You know, Thriller's a game changer as an album, man. Like it is what it is. Like it's a game changer as an album. You need albums. Singles sell the albums, but albums are the game changers, man. And we need that. And we need to let our artists know that we need that from them. I think at this point, man, people just putting albums out just to have them out. And I don't know, man. I'm not saying that it'll never get to that point again where albums matter, but somebody's got to step up and make that happen. And that kind of brings us back to the first topic or whatever. It's like Jay-Z is a guy to do that. And I agree with Leroy to a certain extent. Like you're an artist, it's art, you can make whatever you want to make. But you also want to be able to lead the charge if you're in a position to do so. And there are only a few people who are in position to do so. And we look to them to be able to guide the ship. I don't know if Jay is in that place to do that anymore, but I will say this: whatever Jay does, people are looking, and people will follow his lead in in everything that he's doing. I just love the conversations in hip hop media and the energy from the fans when the music is good out here. It's just a different vibe when the music is good, man. And everybody has more to talk about. It's great. We could talk about the classics all we want. But I mean shit, I wish we were able to do these things in a year like a 1996. Can you imagine if we had these platforms in 1996 and we were covering every single month and every release? Can you imagine how dope that would have been? And being able to look back on it, 30 years later, like that would have been so dope. Again, it starts with the albums and it starts with the music. And I I have some plans to do some things that are going to hopefully incentivize, that album energy and inspire that album energy. But it just comes from the fans, man. Y'all talking about Beyonce. All right. This is where I stand when it comes to Beyonce as a performer, as it relates to Michael and Chris. I think Beyonce is an incredible performer. I think that overall performance, stage performance, she is probably the best performer of her era. But a lot of that has to do with she has a great musical director. She has a great stage direction and all of those things. Like she gives you that full performance. Um, it's not just about her, even though she is the center of the universe when it comes to her performances, and she's on point and she goes hard. But she has a lot going on around her. And I think that when I talk about her music directors and music direction, they make sure that she's not doing what Michael was doing, where it's like up tempo, up tempo, up tempo, up tempo. They are spacing these songs out perfectly. They're doing intermissions when you don't even realize they're doing intermissions. She's able to do all these wardrobe changes because they have sectioned the show off perfectly. So with that being said, she puts on an incredible performance. But if we're talking about individual performer, I still would go, Michael. I mean, between her and Chris, it could go either way. Chris is an exciting individual performer, but one could make the argument that Beyonce's performance overall, with all things involved, is the better. One can make the argument that even, with that being said, her overall stage performance could eclipse Michael because of all of the things involved. Now, if you're just talking about one mic, one artist, one stage, give me Michael Jackson all day. So if that clears up anything. But yes, man, hit like and subscribe, everybody, man. I want to do this more, man, but we got to get the word around and what I'm saying, make sure that we get these things popping. I just think that, we got a real quiet year so far in hip hop, and it's time to liven that up, man. But appreciate y'all joining in, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, and I am going to talk to y'all in a few. All right.